Hello, everyone. Oops. Good. Okay. Sorry. I'm looking down there, not back there. Hello. My name is Giles. I'm here wearing two hats. My oldest hat is one called Looking Local. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a digital team that work out of Kirklees Council up in West Yorkshire. We've been operating for 12 years now, building digital products and providing those to over 150 local authorities, housing associations and CCGs right across the country. But this CC2I is something new, but it came out of the back of that experience of the last 12 years. And I want to, if I can, spend a few minutes telling you about that and then bringing a real practical example to the stage as well, which is a new development today. CC2I is co-fund and collaborate to innovate. I've heard the word collaborate and share an awful lot today. It seems we're all rather keen on it. I'm not entirely convinced that it's happening as much as we'd all like, and I think there are some reasons for that, and the reasons are the ones which underpin why we've set up this organisation called CC2I. Now, one answer to the question of what it is it's corporate crowdfunding. I don't know, has anyone used Kickstarter or Indiegogo or anything like that? Certainly I've bought a couple of things on there where I've contributed 50 quid to some new gadget that someone's creating somewhere, and by crowdfunding individuals' contributions, a business has been able to develop a new product, or it might be some music or whatever it happens to be. CC2I takes that to a corporate level, and as far as we're aware, we can't find a single example of this anywhere else really in the world. If anyone can point me to some good examples, please do. But this is about corporate organizations pledging funds towards a shared outcome and goal. So that's one way to describe what CC2I is. But perhaps another way is to imagine Eddie here, okay? He's invited a couple of mates over for an evening. They're having a few drinks, enjoying their time, but actually as the evening progresses, they're starting to feel a little bit peckish. So if you like, their shared problem is hunger. They're all hungry. Eddie's a big curry fan. He really fancies one. But his mate, one of them pipes up with, oh, let's get a Thai tonight. I don't fancy one of those. Anyhow, they're having a debate. They can't really agree on what it is, but they can all settle on pizza. Now, I have to stress that there are many purveyors of pizza. I'm not here selling Domino's. But let's imagine they're sitting there and they're discussing the pizza. They pull up the app or the website and they discover there's a 3 for 2 deal. That's great news. Happy days. They're going to save a bit of money tonight. At the end of the day, though, their needs are similar. There's a base, there's some toppings. But they can choose subtly differently what they want. They all get their wallets out and they put the money in the middle. They make the phone call and the pizza arrives. We've all done it before. We do it all the time. And yet we turn up and work, and do we do the same? No, we leave all that behind, don't we? We do it separately. We do it on our own. So that's part of, if you like, that's an example of what CC2I is all about. It's about bringing people together around a shared challenge and a shared problem. And I'm going to now really over-labour this pizza analogy. I'm going to squeeze just a smidgen more out of it. Because one of the things that triggered the development and the setting up of CC2I was a piece of work that we were asked to do at Kirklees Council. And this is around adult social care. Now, Looking Local is a team of software engineers, we've got business analysts, project managers, and so on, content people. And we were asked to go into their adult social care department because they were delivering a service around care needs assessment and the financial assessment around that. And they knew that it wasn't going as it should. It was costing an awful lot of money, and some of the results and the outcomes really weren't what they needed. So they said, look, we need you to come in and do this piece of work. It's going to take about 25 or 30 days of effort. Come and shadow the team, see how they're operating, and bring your awareness of knowledge of how digital can be used to bear. You know, how can we use digital to help and assist and transform that particular service? So, of course, we went on to do that piece of work, but at the time I was thinking, really, this can't be unique to Kirklees at all. We've been dealing and working with local authorities all over the country. We know plenty of directors of adult social care. So I asked a couple of the team just to put their feelers out, send a few emails out and say, this is what we're doing in Kirklees. Anyone got a similar challenge? And no big surprise, all of these, within 2 days, we had a number of local authorities saying, yeah, actually, do you know what? We're trying to grasp and tackle exactly the same challenge. And my frustration was that Kirklees were on a journey. They needed us to crack on and get on with that work. But the money and the cost of doing all that analysis, actually, if we put that pitch in front of everybody in this room, or all adult social care directors, and say, who else wants to tackle this challenge? Do you want to do it with us? Should we share the costs of doing it? And if so, A, we'll get a better outcome for less, but actually our shared knowledge and awareness and coming at the challenge from slightly different angles, it should produce a better outcome. And that's, if you like, in the end, after 12 years now of working and doing digital in local government, my frustration levels got the better of me. And so CC2I was born. And I bet in this room here, there are digital teams now who have got ideas about how to do things. We've been working recently with a small unitary in the southeast around a particular problem. It doesn't really matter what the problem is, but I know that when it comes to solving that challenge and building a solution to it, and they know there's a digital answer to this, they've probably got 15 grand to spend on trying to find the answer. But what they will develop with that money will be a little bit Heath Robinson. It won't really stand up to scrutiny in the outside world. It won't be a product, it won't be a service that 50 other local authorities could use. But take the idea and place it in front of all of you at the same time and say, are there 5 of you out there who want to spend 10K on achieving the same thing and building a great product that's robust, it's secure, where the user experience is absolutely top-notch and where it delivers an outcome for 5 of us all at the same time? That might be worth it. And that's the approach that we're trying to foster with CC2I. And we're not on our own. Eddie mentioned we went to see Eddie and others at Nesta. We've been to talk to all of these different organizations. And the noise is, yes, we've really got to do this. And I think there have been efforts to do this before. I know about those. But the reason they have foundered is because this stuff is hard. You know, talking about collaboration is great. Getting everybody in the same room together to agree to spend 10K each on a particular outcome, that's really hard work, and it's in no one single person's interest. I think, Eddie, you mentioned when we came to meet you that you'd been talking to a number of chief execs who came into the building and said, yes, this is a great idea, and then they go back to the ranch, and not one of them is singly on their own is incentivized to do all of that hard yards of bringing everybody together. And that, again, is what's driven us to develop this CC2I concept. And very fortunately, in terms of the conversations we've been having, the likes of Martin, Adrian, Vicky, and others involved in Socitm, is that they're actually offering their hand of real support and partnership into all of that. And I'll come on to that briefly in a second too. So what makes this worth it from my perspective? Well, it's not just local authorities. We've been working with housing associations, CCGs, for the last 12 years, and their appetite and need for this, I think, is just the same. And actually, quite often, some of the challenges that we're all trying to tackle within local government step outside of our boundaries of just our organisations. And some of the digital solutions that might be needed will be a collaboration across these different sectors. It's not just within local authorities and so on. So we think it's really important that we bring all of these different groups to the table. And I mentioned the fact that within the room here, there'll be digital teams who've got ideas. Well, we want, looking local is, if you like, I was chatting earlier about how looking local, if you like, preceded CC2I. If CC2I had existed 12 years ago, looking local would have been one of its children. It's a local authority that builds stuff collaboratively with other local authorities, shares that, and does it on a commercial basis. And it's commercial because it then becomes sustainable. The only reason why Looking Local is the only one digital national project to exist after 12 years is because from the outset, it built products that were sustainable because everybody contributed to their development and their ongoing development and so And of course, actually, there's a huge market of SMEs. It's really hard. I don't know how many SMEs in the room here. Have we got any? Not many? I've got a couple. It's really hard. It's really hard getting access to a local government market. Now, we understand why, because I've sat on both sides of the fence. The good old procurement game. And there's, of course, there are things like G-Cloud and so on that are helping to an extent. But the reality is that some of the ideas, local authorities don't know what to ask for. They don't know necessarily the art of the possible. There may be all sorts of smart new ways of trying to tackle a problem using digital, but maybe we haven't thought about them. How do we provide a means by which those organizations can reach us and enable us to do some of them and tackle some of the challenges that we've got? So anyhow, we went live very quietly over the summer. We're just starting to ramp up now. Please do go and have a look at the website. We've actually got a few pitches up there already, some ideas that actually warrant your attention today. I won't go through these three, and unfortunately, having sat at the back now, I realise that almost everything on this screen is very hard to see out there. But I'm going to draw your attention to two on here. One of which is an idea that has come out of Kirklees Council themselves that's around content. So their view is that probably around 80% of the content that we produce on our various websites is being reproduced. We're all doing the same thing. There was Steve Langrick, who's the SRO at Kirklees for Looking Local, asked at a Rebs and Bens event, said, how many of the local authorities, who's written pages about universal credit? Everyone's hands went up. Who's written a page about this and that? We've all done it. We're all writing the same thing. And actually writing content well is really hard. And yet we're doing it 400 times over. Surely there is a way in which that 80%, we often focus on the 20%, the local stuff, the stuff that makes us different. But the reality is that 80% of what we're doing is very similar. So their view is that there is a model for developing content that we can share amongst us all whilst taking account of the need for that 20% that's local and allowing us to add to that kind of core of content which we can all then share. Now that particular, that's the first pitch to look like it's going to be successful on CC2I. We had a call from Fife. I don't know if there's anyone from Fife here today. I think Scotland have their own Socitm conference coming up. But anyhow, they saw this pitch, this idea that Kirklees had put up there and said, you know what, that's really interesting, we're up for that. And they had a conversation with some of their colleagues, and then North Lanarkshire got involved, and Renfrewshire have now got in touch, East Renfrewshire, and Stirling also now looking likely to join the party. And the costs of doing that then are shared amongst us all. So that's an example of how this can work. And the one at the bottom here is potentially one that's specifically of interest to Socitm members. There's some legislation coming our way next year, regardless of Brexit, around GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations. I'm no expert in it, but a crowd in Portsmouth, a bunch of IBMers, there's about 5 of them, some geeks down there, have got some really interesting technology that deals with GDPR in a completely unique way. They haven't a clue, I'm going to be honest, how they're going to reach out to the local government audience, but they think there's a real potential use for it there. So they've come to us and say, can you help us? Can you help us find local authorities interested in looking at the technology and shaping the technology for the needs of local authorities? And we think there's some really significant savings there from that particular idea that crowd in Portsmouth have come up with. So if you're interested, go onto the website, have a look at the pitches that are there, and if there's anything that you see, there's just a button on there, simply click on Express Interest. It doesn't commit you commercially, contractually to anything. What we then do is convene a little workshop around that with the supplier involved and help do this business, the hard yards of getting people to collaborate and come together around a particular idea. And based on all the research that we've done and our experience of running Looking Local is that we think that over the next 5 years, there should be around 400 new ideas will come through this platform. We anticipate about half of those actually coming to fruition. Not every idea is going to have legs or is going to appeal to enough people to make the business of co-funding work. But we think a significant number will. But it challenges the way that we've all previously done stuff. Typically, we go out to procurement, we ask for something. This is what I need, can you provide it? And this is this is a fundamentally different way of approaching the same challenge. So, is it going to be easy? No, it's not. And it's one of the reasons why it's not been possible. It's founded in the past because I don't think, because it's lacked the incentive. I believe CC2I is a sustainable business that involves people doing lots of hard work, and of course, if you've got people doing hard work, they need to be paid. CC2I is a business, and over time, the aim is for it to be profitable. And by being profitable, it will enable the whole collaboration in the digital space to happen. That's the bit I think that's been missing so far. We've all have good intentions, but when it comes to doing the hard work of bringing people together, that's the stuff that's we've kind of hit the buffers on. Is it worth it? Well, we think so. I guess I wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think it was possible. And I guess the proof in the pudding somewhat has been our experience of Looking Local. Looking Local is still going 12 years after being a centrally government-funded initiative at the time around doing interactive telly. We're now built technology around behavioural change, around housing, welfare reform, and a whole host of other technologies that have come out of that. And they're all being used collaboratively, and the shared costs between numerous local authorities, housing and health. Last and definitely not least, and it's one of the reasons big thank you to Socitm for giving me the opportunity to come and speak today, is the partnership with them. So we're just having the conversations about what that will actually mean, but our hope is that we're going to be able to pick out the pitches that arrive through CC2I early, the ones that really are likely to matter to the Socitm members, and through their connections and networks, make you aware of these opportunities that may be out there for you to get involved in helping to tackle some of the challenges that you've got. So really looking forward to the next few months of working with Socitm on all of that. So today is my invitation. Please do come onto the site, grab me afterwards. I've got cards and so on. If you've got some challenges, if you've got some ideas, or even if you've got problems, you don't know necessarily what the answer is, but you might have a shared problem. The idea of CC2I is that we can actually pitch the problem as well as someone who's got an idea to how to solve one, and actually convene people around that and do the hard work of getting bodies on the job and seeing some of these ideas come to fruition. But through the conversations we've had today, we've been having a chat with Martin and Carrie from LoGov. And if I may, I'm going to actually invite them to come and take over now and tell you how they themselves are going to be bringing an idea to the CC2I platform.
Yeah, thanks so much for letting us just hijack the session late in the day. I've been stood around the corner for a day and a half now telling people what LoGov is. And I think I've got it worked out, but I'll have another go. So LoGov is a new product. It's a startup that's come out of a company we work for called Unboxed. Unboxed is an agile digital consultancy who help people, particularly in the public sector, so central government, in healthcare, and now in local government to, I guess, be more agile, to think a little bit more like small organizations, to move rapidly, and to actually design and build really great digital services. LoGov we've set up as a community interest company, the model being that we can help local authorities design and implement digital services following the GDS service standard, so through discovery, alpha, beta, and launch. And the community interest company allows those councils to then make them available on the LoGov platform where other councils can perhaps license the use of those digital services. A percentage of the license fee going back to the original council so they can start to recoup their investment, the rest of the license fee going back into the development of the services. So we've built our first two services with Buckinghamshire County Council. The challenge we now face to prove the model is that we need to license those, get other councils to license those services, and that's not proving to be too easy. It's early days, and we think it's possible. But one of the things we're there to encourage is collaboration. And for me, the interesting thing is at what point do you encourage the collaboration? Because if you work with one council to come up with a complete service, it's quite a hard sell then to sell it to others. But if you can get those councils working together on the discovery phase, so there's a kind of shared ownership of those services and they can invest together in the services, then you have a service that's a better service for more people, but it will also be easier to sell on to others. with that in mind, I've been speaking to Guy over the last couple of months probably about how they can help us do that. And we've come up with an idea today, which hopefully, one of the concerns about early collaboration is that it will slow things down. I think that's a problem. So we want to be able to collaborate, but to also move quickly. So Carrie's got an idea for something we're going to put on the platform, on the CC2I platform, which we hope will encourage quick, early, and positive collaboration. Carrie.
Hello, hello. So CC2I is the perfect platform to try and connect with people who want to build similar digital services in councils. And our idea to put immediately on the platform is a one-day alpha in a day, especially for Socitm members, that any of you can join or send somebody from your organisation to join and take an idea through to alpha in a day with peers. They may be peers working on exactly the same service as you, or they might be working on something completely different. That's up to you. What Martin didn't tell you is one of the things he's worked on in the past and is well known for. So if you've had a particularly exciting weekend, the thing you used to have to do was to go and queue up at the sexual health clinic. They make you queue outside, unfortunately. What Martin is behind is the project that very, very rapidly, so got to alpha incredibly quickly, partnering with various hospital trusts in London. That was a digital service, so you order your test kit online, you receive the kit, you administer the kit at home, and they text you the results. So that's the kind of physical service that we can transform into a digital service. Both Martin and I accelerate products as part of our day job. We both also teach at the University of Cambridge and help accelerate products there. So this alpha in a day is our way of quickly kick-starting ideas into alpha together. If you like the idea of that and you would like to express interest, then if you go to our Twitter feed, which is @LoGov platform, that's LOGOV platform, you'll find the tweet at the very top has a form which allows you to express interest, so say who you are, which organisation you represent, and what kinds of services you might be interested in doing. And the bit I forgot to say is it's free. So if you crowdfund it using the CC2I platform, that day is free. They're usually very oversubscribed, so I would register interest to get yourself and your organisation to the top of the list. Thank you.
Thanks. Guy, do we know how long it might be before we can get it on the platform itself?
This week, probably tomorrow.
And Socitm have very kindly offered to share the link when it's available, so we can get people working together quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Any questions from the floor about this initiative? Yes, one at the front and gentleman right at the back. And again, just name, organisation and a brief question.
Hi, Mark Say, UK Authority. Bear in mind the number that you came out, you were talking about that you reckon over the next 5 years 400 services and you think 200 of them could be goers. That seems very ambitious. I wonder what's that based on? You know, basically, how did you come to those kind of numbers?
An awful lot of sort of business modelling work has been happening over the summer to. We know what it takes, the effort it takes to bring one of these projects together. We've made some bids for some significant funding to get CC2I off the ground. At the moment, there's a team of 5 of us who are working on it. But in order for that to happen, then it's going to need a different level of investment. But we think that the number of challenges that... So the short answer to the question is we've modelled it, and we think that those numbers make sense based on our previous experience of the work on Looking Local. We know that you look at what's in G-Cloud and the number of SMEs that are providing products, many of them are struggling to provide, maybe the products aren't right. So whilst the numbers look, they're ambitious, we certainly think they're achievable. and the business model sort of works around that. But to be honest, we'd welcome the opportunity to share that model with others, because if this doesn't work, then we're kind of wasting our time. So other scrutiny of that would be really welcome.
Gentleman at the back.
Right, Zaki Gori, Head of Portfolio Management for Westminster and Kensington. I've been involved in a couple of initiatives across 3 councils, Westminster, Kensington and Hammersmith and Fulham. And one of the troubles that we've experienced is around the political aspirations for the 3 councils might not always be aligned. Have you given that any thought? So using your pizza example, if you've got one council that likes red toppings and another council that likes blue toppings, and a third council that might like yellow toppings, how would you...
What kind of pizza do you eat? The blue one. No, sorry.
So have you given that any thought, and how you're going to approach those particular challenges?
We kind of live and breathe that. So perhaps a good example is a technology that we developed at Kirklees Council called Better Off. This is a platform that helps people understand their entitlements for welfare, that help them apply for processes, many of which are run by DWP using horrible paper-based documents, which we've taken and moved into a digital space. And it also provides help and support for getting people back to work. Now, that platform was built initially for Kirklees Council. It's now being used by Stockport, by London Borough of Enfield, Herefordshire are just implementing it, Norwich are just implementing it, a number of others. And the challenge for us always is that actually when we go to Enfield, they go, but we've got our Enfield connected platform, so we need to integrate and interface with that. And then over in Stockport, we use Microsoft Dynamics or whatever it happens to be, and et cetera, et cetera. There's always challenges around people wanting something subtly different. But our experience is that when you really get down to the bottom of it, most of it is common. There's a culture of we're different and we need to be treated differently. But by working through the challenges, what we found is that many local authorities are using that particular technology. When you ask the questions or tackle it from a different way, they go, actually, do you know what? No, we're happy with that being the same. And actually, if the price tag for having it so beautifully distinct for us is X, then it's not, the business case for that soon melts away, and actually we then convene around something which is really excellent, but it perhaps has to challenge some of those local politics. But our experience is that it can be done, and the 150 odd local authorities and housing associations that we've provided digital products and services to is kind of testament to that. So yeah, we can do it. We'd love to help you.
And a question here at the front.
Hi, yeah, so Martin again, sorry.
This is kind of cheating as you're asking a question.
And I wasn't even going to ask a question. I just wanted to add to that I think the political ambition of the councils is not as important as the customer, the citizen, and the services that they want. And actually, if you start to look at customer need, although there's very different populations in different councils, you can find the common customer need, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do, right, to meet that need. So I think a lot of the battle is to just try and avoid those political aspirations and focus on the customer, is my 2 pence. Not a question.
Any other comments from the floor? If not, we will have a few extra moments for you to grab these people, have a chat with Guy during the break that we will now have before our very final session. But in terms of all the theme of this conference, tackling really complex issues, we've now got some people here talking about being able to facilitate that process, deliver change at scale, de-risk that process. It sounds like a what's not to like model, and obviously delighted to hear about that opportunity via Socitm as well. If we can return here for the final session in 15 minutes, go grab yourself that final coffee of the day. But for now, please put your hand together for our speakers, and particularly for Guy. Thank you.